I'm sorry.
This is the emergency thing that the people haven't had the certification yet. So this is more for the new members, I think, who maybe haven't been through this process before. Could we just, and it's one sentence, the non-pedagogic staff members who have not been cleared by the New York State Department, save law be and hereby approved to work for an additional 20 days commencing November 1. Could we just have a little summary, without going into the whole thing if we don't need to, but what should have happened, and this is not about a failure on anybody's part, it's a process question. What should have happened under the law, let's say, that didn't, and what happens in the next 20 days, and are we sure they're going to get it, or will you come back and ask for more? What happens? 180-1.
Well, conditional appointments happen occasionally when we have to check on fingerprints. Fingerprint clearance is 72 hours, and occasionally an emergency arises where we have to have somebody in place right away.
It's deemed to be one that is conditional. It's been in effect, as you well know, for many years here in the district, giving the allowance, and I think it gets repeated every month in our personnel resolutions under this header, which does provide not that we have to hire someone or not that someone is actually being hired. It's simply the ability to do so in the event we were to need someone to fill a position in the short term.
Well, this is not about particular people. It is. It's people who are listed in that other resolution, right?
I don't know specific to this one that you're talking about.
It's 12.
But it does.
That's what it says. Yeah, it says.
So 8212.
My question is, how? I mean, these are people who started at the beginning of the year.
Well, they started at the date that was indicated.
11/9. 11/9, 10/27.
Okay.
One was October 24th.
Okay, so these are really short term that it didn't happen, and the expectation is that within the next 20 days they'll have all of those approvals. I mean, we understand the obvious question.
Right.
In light of things that happen and people coming in, and this law is here for a purpose. And again, I'm not trying to. This is not about circumventing. I'm not going there. I'm not pointing any fingers. It's just a process question. That the law is there for people to be checked and vetted and certified and fingerprinted and whatever happens. And I understand that sometimes it can't happen in 72 hours, and that thank you for that clarification. So we're now getting 20 more days, and then what happens at the end? The assumption is that if they didn't get certified in the first week, certainly 20 more days should be enough.
Typically, it takes anywhere from 72 hours to a month.
Okay.
And it depends on.
Why a month?
I've had instances where people's fingerprints have come back smudged, so we have to redo it,
Okay.
And things like that
Oh, okay.
may occur. So the 20 days is plenty of time that's needed in order to make sure fingerprints come back clear.
Okay. And so at the end of whatever time period, I mean, you're obviously at your office, right? And
Yes.
you're certifying that they're all at the end of that time. I mean, at some point, we know, again, especially with heightened awareness now, we know that we have whatever we need, even if it takes a few more days, that we revisit this and we're not slipping anything.
Yes, everything is checked, and then once the fingerprints are cleared, they are going to be approved again for employment, not conditional.
I mean, that brings up something that, and I've spoken to Chris Ann about earlier today. I've written a proposed resolution just in this about this, about how we hire pedagogical and administrative staff, and take a look at our policies and procedures that I want to be presenting probably next week. But I really want to talk about how do we do that, what's our process, and then if there are any recommendations that need to be made, and having that done within a certain time period. So. But I'll bring that up next week.
Well, I've asked Mr. Kolahifar for next week's agenda to do a presentation related to from July 1 until now. What are the activities he's engaged in? What are his observations? What are his recommendations? So that might be in line with what you're proposing. And so we can work from that in terms of just information.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
I'd like to just discuss an issue that came up at the last board meeting regarding some conditional fingerprinting. I felt as though maybe I was not clear or I didn't answer the question as properly as I should have, so I just want to make sure that I clear things up, and if you have any questions regarding conditional appointments, I'd be more than happy to address them. First of all, New York State passed the law during the SAFE legislation back in July of 2001 that required all new employees to a school district have fingerprints done. These fingerprints were to have background checks done on every employee. So any new employee at this point, as of July 1, 2001, will have to have their fingerprints done. They will have to have them, luckily now we have them scanned, so the turnaround time where it used to be anywhere from 3 to 6 months is now really a mere 24 to 72 hours. So you can imagine that when this first came out, the need for conditional appointments was very high, simply because if I wasn't getting those fingerprints back in the personnel office for 6 months, there were positions that were open for that length of time, and there were things that we needed to do and people we needed to put in place. So the state recognized that. They allowed for, through the law, it's Education Law Section 2805, paragraph 18, states that emergency conditional appointments may be made. They've actually extended that law through July 1st of 2012. So we have through the end of this school year, really in case an emergency arises. However, again, I just want to reiterate, with the emergence of the scanning of the fingerprints, the conditional appointments are very far and few between. So I know there was a resolution that was put forth that wanted you to conditionally appoint certain individuals, but I was assured by Stephanie Oliver in the Civil Service Office that most times before that even gets to the board, their fingerprints have been cleared, or if they haven't, they've been removed from any agenda they may see. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I can see I do. Yes. So just with that quick turnaround, what are the conditions, sorry to use that word, that would cause us to have a conditional person that we can really get them in within 72 hours?
Well, at times, the fingerprints don't come back because, and we actually did recently have this, a woman, if you recall, came back from Las Vegas, and we appointed her for 1 day as a per diem sub. Her fingerprints came back smudged because, truthfully, I don't know why. They just came back smudged. So we had to conditionally appoint her. Until those fingerprints were cleared, she had to redo it, and she was coming from Las Vegas. So I was going to make her come back from Las Vegas, on another day, things like that. So something like that may arise where we would need to, do an emergency conditional appointment.
Well, okay, so if because I raised a question last week, so this arose because we actually made appointments, or I guess we're going to vote on them tonight, right?
Yes.
For people who were conditional because we didn't have the things back.
At the time of the resolution.
Okay, so for example, it's now a week later than it was last week when we got this.
Yes.
Are we still doing the same resolution? Are these people still going to be conditional? And then what's the follow-up? Assuming we approve the resolution tonight, what's the follow-up? And now we're already a week later. I mean, given what you said about the 48, 72 hours, whatever it is.
Well, and ultimately it's going to end up happening on the next board meeting. You're going to see that those individuals that were in this resolution are going to be appointed to a provisional position, or I really have to see if it's a contingent position. I'm not sure.
Yeah, whatever the position
whatever
is,
the position
understood.
is, but
Yeah.
They're going to then be appointed
Next level.
to the next level because their fingerprints have come back clear.
And if they don't come back, what's the limit? Like, when do we?
I believe the law allows for a 20-day, I'm sorry, yes, it's, but must terminate 20 days from the date it starts. So a conditional appointment is really only good for 20 days.
So for those people, just use the ones that are here. It'll the clock starts from today?
It starts from when they've been
Oh,
approved.
are they already here working
Yes.
before the resolution today?
Yes.
Okay, so then it's 20 days from when they started, not from today. So their clocks are ticking.
I have to look into that.
Okay.
I'll look into that.
Okay.
And just to follow up, and out of those people that were on the list last week, have any of those fingerprints have cleared since then?
Stephanie Oliver gets back to me as soon as they are, so I haven't heard back from her, but she and I have been playing phone tag.
I've got a question. It's not on one additional. It goes back to follow up from Mr. Gold from his first presentation. On the 12-180-1, this is in regards to the, is it in the safe that we consider from this
12 dash, which one?
12-180-1.
All right.
So, it states here that, we are asking for a resolution so that they can work without the fingerprint. But it says that 20 days starting November 1st, and then if you take a look at 12-180-12, which are the individuals that are named, all of them either, some were hired in October, we've got some under November 9th, so essentially they're beyond the 20 days at this point. So the question is, one, have we gotten their fingerprinting back, and are they still employed with the district without the fingerprinting?
I'll have to check on that to make sure that it's there, but like I said before, the 72-hour window has certainly passed on all of these. They're hourly employees, so I know that if they don't have the clearance within that 20-day window, they're not called in for work. But I will definitely check on that and get back to everybody.
But should we be voting on this tonight without the information? Or
Well, I mean, it sounds like they're really hard, but working for 20 days anyway, and it's past the 20 days. So, it's a little interesting that I know we have sometimes to have passing resolutions after things happen, which I still find troubling. But in this case, it's really troubling because folks that, haven't had their fingerprints cleared and they're working in the school buildings. They're sometimes in the school with their children. So it would be out, but no one can answer that question right now, that if they're out or not. And then it's beyond the 20 days, so we should know whether they have been cleared or if they're still in our district or not. So we should know that answer. And so I think voting resolution is a moot point because we hired them on these dates and we're in the buildings. So I think as far as voting on the resolution, I think it's fine. I'm more concerned about whether they're still there without having been cleared past the 20 days. That means we're violating the law.
I will ask Jeffrey Kale, our counsel, to take a look at that paragraph since it's been there for 10 years and ask him to maybe rework it in a way that would satisfy the sense of going forward with it, to still permit us to hire people conditionally for emergency or other purposes, and ask them to get back to us the next month.
I think at this point, for the conditional piece, since we are past the 20, I think the state requires us to have a resolution on file.
That's what I'm saying. It's a moot point, so I think we should vote on it.
Right, we have to still follow up on that. Reza, you'll follow up and get back to me, and I'll share it with the board.
Yes.
Please. Thank you.
And also, I mean, as part of the follow-up too, we said that we're putting up one-offs, but this is a list of about 10 people, so that's just quite a lot of folks that did not get approved ahead of time. So I really do want to get a good sense of how we can't clear all these positions. Don't look like anything that's really critical that we need to have someone in prior to getting their fingerprints cleared. So that's part of the possibility.
Correct.
Still in the schools, the children.
We have 7 are subs and 2 are lunch monitors. But they're hourly, but they still are in the district.
Still being school, with our children.
Okay, with that being